driving right now?
No idea.
Sasha! OMFG, guys, we killed somebody's grandma. I think it's Barbie. The Bratz killed Barbie?
And not just with market share this time. Hey-o!
True that. Good one. We gotta hide the body, you guys. Welcome to your new dream house. Rest in peace, bitch. See ya.
Are you a Barbie or Bratz girl? See, that question always bothered me because it undermined the not-so-hidden gems, Ever After High, Winx Club, and even Polly Pocket. But the correct answer was obviously Monster High.
M-O-N-S-T-E-R, monsters, monsters, yes we are.
Well, until it fell off.
Dracula! Please wake up! Oh, that's ghastly.
A certain era, of which Monster High has many. The movies are categorized into generations, and though they differ between forums, the Transmedia depiction of what's widely recognized as 3 generations follows Generation 1, split into 2 2D movies, New Girl in School and Fright On, though Fright On has a 2D and 3D adaptation, so technically it's both, and 11 3D movies. Generation 2, the rebooted 3D animations consisting of movies Welcome to Monster High and Monster High Electrified, and the last widely considered least is the live-action adaptation of Monster High the movie and Monster High 2.
My life doesn't make any sense without...
Okay, Deucey.
I just got Deuce. Don't care. We broke up over the summer. What?
The popular sentiment is that Generations 2 and 3 are, well, slightly horrible, and while I don't fully agree with the sentiment, I mean, Monster High is a coming-of-age franchise and would obviously fall out of favor with its original audience due to rebranding, which I completely deem necessary.
But
the execution entirely erased the identity of the original Monster High by dulling the edginess and continuing with this unbearable new wave of kids content where they dumb down the characters and baby bird feed you every single thought. Just because media is for kids doesn't give it the excuse to be horrible. Now, did I like G1 better? Okay, yeah, infinitely. But the franchise rebrand wasn't random. There were many holes in the Monster High world that needed to be filled, from parent disapproval, heavily declining purchasing power, to a declining toy industry and oversaturation. It was beginning to look a lot like Doll Have Movie, Doll Have Tale, Doll Have Unstructured Musical, but Doll Have Nothing New to Say. And while those detractors could be applied to every single doll franchise and have been the downfall of many, what I personally believe to be the single most detrimental action of Monster High is the loss of identity. And I don't think that there is one movie that most depicts the loss of identity within not only the story but the franchise as a whole than The Great Scarrier Reef. To understand Mattel's fatal missteps, we first have to understand the media merchandising synergy between movies and dolls.
Something's lurking the halls of Monster High. Something killer. Something fierce.
Yeah, we're fierce.
Mosh and freak on. Wicked style so good, it's scary. Monster High dolls, each sold separately. Journal totally comes with.
One thing will forever be true. We cannot talk about dolls without talking about Mattel. Founded in 1945 by Harold Matt Matson and Elliot Handler, the toy manufacturing company for the most notable doll line, Barbie, was introduced in 1959 as a fashion-first doll, and since then they've easily secured a monopoly over dolls including Barbie, American Girl, Disney, Monster High, and Polly Pocket. But entertainment is a bit different. It's tricky because Mattel has Mattel Playground Productions, its own production company for IP-related media releases, but it also outsources partners for production. For Monster High, Mattel partnered with Nerdcorps Entertainment to produce films distributed by Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, and Universal Pictures Home Entertainment for home video releases like the G1 movies. This hybrid production model isn't incredibly important, but it gives insight into the different manufacturing partners between generations and the relationships with the distributors affecting its media. Anyways, why? Why doll have movie, show, and song? In Barbie, The Rise of Transmedia Storytelling and Quality IP, it's stated, by capitalizing on the emotional connections fans have with these beloved characters and worlds, companies like Mattel can create a multifaceted universe that offers something for everyone. Storytelling as a marketing tool has always been used in toy production in the form of commercials and advertising campaigns. This is especially true since the product's primary consumer is adolescents. By further branching out and creating arguably the most immersive depictions of the product, This media is integral. The connection and content that I get from a Barbie movie is infinitely more than any ad or billboard. Mattel's Q1 2025 financial results presentation slide 3, titled Growth, IP-Driven Toy Business, and Expand Entertainment Offering, shows a visual of what I think perfectly represents the relationship between entertainment and toys. Toys are the main mode of profit, but entertainment captures the full value of the IP. The dolls make the money, but if a girl watches a Monster High movie, they're probably going to end up buying that doll. Though for some girls like me, entertainment was the only sector that I could consume. As a kid, I watched every single Monster High movie, even though I couldn't afford to buy every doll the movie was advertising. My investment in Monster High laid solely in their entertainment sector, and that's the problem. Like, what happens when they get too good at it? What if the entertainment aspect becomes entirely too pivotal that the mainstream of revenue, dolls, rely on it? And what happens when Mattel can't keep up? The Great Scarrier Reef happens, which was the beginning of the end. The Great Scarrier Reef is, again, the last and widely considered least enjoyed Generation 1 movie because it reflects what I believe to be the main issue of the Monster High franchise, its loss of identity. And while that's already a really bad problem to have as a brand, it's even more debilitating because Monster High's entire brand is, well, identity. But first, let's understand how each movie functions. Each movie revolves around a monster's character. Freaky Fusion follows Frankie, who I would consider to be the main character of Monster High. The movie depicts her trying to find her monster heritage, and in her slightly annoying antics, she turns all of her friends into monster hybrids, like Frankenstein's creation. This makes sense for Frankie's character, someone who struggles with identity and is definitely quirky. Draculaura, another main character, is very kind and romantic. So, of course, her movie would be about her relationship with her vampiric past lover, Valentine, and Clyde, her best friend's brother. But even with tertiary characters like Howleen, Claudine's little sister, her established story arc of wanting to be the main character, surrounded by siblings much more popular than she is and very well established in the story, makes sense for her within the world of 13 Wishes. Of course, just give the dolls a Middle Eastern rebrand. Now, the Great Scarrier Reef follows Laguna Blue, a competitive saltwater swimmer, and how she deals with stage fright. Because yes, the character described on Monster High fandom as no nonsense would definitely develop stage fright. But that isn't the only thing. I mean, when I watched the movie for the first time, the character of Laguna hadn't even registered to me.
Little green bros, do our hearts not beat the same? Does not the same green blood flow through our veins? Even if it means staring a huge slimy monster right in his gelatinous, disgusting eye!
It seems like the creators did a whole personality-ectomy and then just gave this lifeless character a harsher Australian accent. It's not just me who's noticed this complete character assassination. The Monster High fandom did as well. On the Reddit thread, "Why do so many people hate the Great Scarrier Reef?" Redditors comment, "There was no precedence to Laguna having stage fright. It was so clear that they were running out of good ideas that could actually sell at this point, which only propelled the reboot and likely led to the cancellation of future projects. Besides it blatantly killing Laguna's character, the movie unluckily represents the end of G1 and the worsening prospects for the brand." With hastily put together storylines, it's easier to remember that the doll media is only at service of the dolls themselves. But consumers don't want to think that they're watching an hour-and-a-half commercial. While there's generally a lot of good world building in Monster High, and even though Laguna is a main character, we don't know much about her. All we know is competitive swimmer, Australian accent, freshwater boyfriend. This is still considerably more than we got for Howleen in 13 Wishes, Spectra in Haunted, and Caddy Noir or Pharaoh in New York. Yet the creators managed to avoid adapting anything even remotely close to her pre-established personality traits. So everything about this movie felt like a ploy to sell dolls with tails. And while yes, they technically are, if 10-year-old me noticed, I think there's a problem. But if there was one comprehensive comment to describe the public issue, it would be by the 4 fandoms on Reddit. They say, "I don't feel like the Scarrier Reef movie put that much effort into the line other than just, we've got to have a mermaid line. Plus, the sea creatures' designs look so uninspiring compared to older lines. Like, why do all of them have to be mermaid shaped?" Honestly, this was just an early sign that G1 was going under and ending soon, because when G2 started, they continued doing the same gimmicky doll line concepts just with cheaper quality dolls. But one particularly bad movie wouldn't collapse the whole G1 empire, right? What Mattel would later find out is no one wants to buy Doll with Tail if Doll with Tail have bad movie. The Great Scarrier Reef came out in 2016, so it's incredibly easy to follow the paper trail, or the lack thereof. On January 26, 2017, 10 months after the movie's release date, in the article, Mattel stocks plunges after holiday sales disappoint, the LA Times wrote, slower sales in the overall toy category led to heavy discounts, said Richard Dixon, the company's president. Worldwide gross sales in the category that includes Disney Princess and Monster High items were down sharply, 41% last quarter and 52% for the full year. Although sales increased in the category including Hot Wheels, offsetting the pain somewhat. The company said the category was up 6% in the quarter and 13% for the year. I looked at the 2016 quarterly reports and everything tracks. While Barbie was relatively successful, a key point in the presentation slide states met full-year revenue objective to offset Disney Princess gap and Monster High headwinds. Later on in the presentation, it states decline in Disney Princess and Monster High partially offset by growth in Hot Wheels, Barbie, and licensed entertainment, which is like Batman vs. Superman and DC Superhero Girls. What this reflected was a 1 to 4% drop in revenue, and for a company like Mattel, that's grounds for serious reflection. This could correlate to the many issues Mattel seems to be facing in the toy marketing / sales, which inevitably affected Monster High. But to say the IP was entirely perfect beforehand would be a lie. There was definitely some consumer concern. Out of all the articles I read, I think Mommyish states the pre-existing brand issues perfectly. Well, in the eyes of a parent. The moms state in their 6 reasons I hate Monster High. Number 1, they look like something Charlie Sheen would need to make disappear out of his trunk after a Coke binge. I think this is supposed to be funny, but I don't get the reference. Anyways, number 2, they cater to the lowest denominator. Spoken like a true parent who only lets their children play with American Girl dolls and Barbies. So, number 3, they're hypersexualized. And to that, yeah. Number 4, they aren't just disproportionate, they look dangerously skinny. Well, yes. While this is applicable to all dolls, I've definitely heard this discourse in Monster High specifically, and for Monster High to be on this pedestal for diversity, this is definitely a pitfall. Number 5, they celebrate differences only as long as you're conventionally attractive. And to this, I disagree, because most dolls are made to be aesthetically pleasing. 6-year-olds don't want to buy ugly dolls. And I still believe that Monster High is by far one of the most diverse doll collections. And last but not least, they reinforce stereotypes. While this disapproval from parents towards Monster High wasn't its undoing, it certainly influenced how Mattel went about the other renditions. For the worst.
That hair, there's a reason a dead person let you have it.
I totally disagree.
Aw, who's this lost little doggies?
Who you calling little?
Okay.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
This is why Generation 2 and 3 kinda suck. NerdCorp's Entertainment was the production company partnered with Mattel in the formation of Generation 1. NerdCorp is a traditional entertainment company that offers animation, television, film, etc. And it doesn't really cater to a specific demographic. Then, in 2016, a very interesting year for Monster High, it was acquired by DHX Studios. DHX Studio went under some business strategy revisions, and in 2016, it was acquired and turned into WildBrain Studios, a Canadian animation studio and production company specializing in children's television programming. Unlike Universal Studios, the manufacturing of these movies specifically took a child-first approach, probably affecting the content. And so did the distributors, now being Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, which I think paints the perfect picture for Monster High's now over-sanitized depiction, which is so not the vibe. Though that's the problem, isn't it? Mattel never knew what to do with Monster High.
Berdine, did you see that? The Bratz are totally kicking your...
I know what they're doing.
Monster High, the response to Bratz. Okay, so I'm gonna try to be really quick, but Barbie was a steadfast supergiant in the doll industry until it wasn't. Until there was another doll brand founded in 2001 that would go on to compromise 40% of doll sales by 2006. Worse, the doll line wasn't even owned by Mattel. Instead, it was a product of MGA Entertainment, Bratz. And the one thing about Mattel, they want to be number 1 and number 2. So, July 11th, 2010, they devised their response to Bratz, Monster High.
M-O-N-S-T-E-R. Monsters, monsters, yes we are.
But that wasn't enough. The monopolistic tendencies run so deep that Mattel would go on to sue MGA over Bratz because the creator of Bratz, Carter Bryant, developed the concept while he worked at Mattel. The Bratz vs. Mattel lawsuit centered on claims that Bratz creator Carter Bryant developed the doll concept while he was still working at Mattel, giving Mattel ownership of the idea. In 2008, Mattel initially won and was awarded control over Bratz, but the decision was overturned in 2011 after a lengthy appeal process. MGA, the company responsible for Bratz, ultimately won the case and received compensation for damages, but the brand's momentum had been severely damaged due to the legal battle. The lawsuit drained resources, disrupted marketing, and contributed to Bratz's long-term decline. This would cost millions of dollars and go on to be the single most detrimental event in Bratz history, booting them from the doll competition, not only with Barbie, but also with Monster High, and that's where I think the problem lies. Without Bratz as a competitor, Mattel no longer had the monetary incentive to maintain the edgy, cool fashionista type beat that Bratz inspired Monster High. I mean, they do all have the same critiques: over-sexualized, edgy, too inclusive. And what we've explored is that it's constantly apparent that Mattel's products don't have any identity. They're purely avenues for cash. I remember seeing that viral picture of Barbie throughout the years, and you could pinpoint whenever Bratz became a competitor because Barbie began to resemble Bratz. But when Bratz dissipated, Barbie was Barbie then again. Mattel never had the formula. They reheated Bratz nachos, marginally better. I'm still a Monster High girl. But now that Bratz isn't the powerhouse it used to be, Mattel can't keep copying the blueprint, so they morph into the only thing that they're good at, Barbie. All in all, I think this speaks to the core identity of Mattel. It isn't entertainment, it isn't even toys, it's revenue. Every move they've made in terms of entertainment was done with the expectation that it would foster a positive effect for Mattel's revenue. Monster High as an entity was literally created to dominate the market and edgier dolls through competitive imitation of Bratz. But they got too good at this formula, and by shifting gears to focus on creating these immersive worlds for the dolls, it became imperative in a part of buying them. The entertainment can no longer be this last-ditch effort in advertisement. If Monster Mermaid movie bad, we want Monster Mermaid doll. If money becomes the main motivator, then as soon as it slows down, drastic changes will ensue. It's worked for decades, and it will work for decades more. Monster High was simply caught in the crossfire and sunk to the deepest, darkest depths of the Great Scarrier Reef, never to be seen again.